It's Nomsa here at Nkosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, led from within. A happy Easter, everyone. I hope you're having a good, lovely Monday, relaxing bank holiday. And I'm having a good one today, but I thought let me just pop in and say and be with you guys for 1 hour. And today we're talking about coping with the loss of a partner, strategies for healing. Coping with the loss of a partner is undoubtedly one of the most challenging situation and experiences anyone will ever have to go through. I hope that some of you don't have to go through that pain. The emotional pain can leave somebody feeling overwhelmed, and the journey towards healing may seem too daunting, and it may seem like it may not make sense. Um, it may not make sense, but I'm going to share with you. It's not the right thing to do. I don't want you guys to say, "Wow, that is not a right thing to do," and why, if you have lost your spouse, why am I feeling that way? So grieving is a process. It's a process that you have to find what works for you as individual. So I'm just putting out the strategy. In reality, what really happens in reality, what do people go through, and the pain that people have to go through. And also I'm trying to actually share my video, guys. I'm not ignoring you. Let me just share this video, and when we share this video, then it will begin the journey of understanding how to cope with your losing um, your loved ones, your spouse. It can be a very, very emotional journey, very painful journey, but through the healing and the forgiveness as well, you have to forgive. Uh, you get there eventually. So let's get into the topic, and just see um, how I can help you guys to deal with this if you're going through that pain, and if you have some tips, or if you have gone through healing. I know there are some people who have gone through the healing of losing, the process of losing their loved ones, and they have had to struggle through that pain, dealing with the grief. And through that pain, they found a solution. And so if you're watching and you're one of those, please feel free to share your story, or leave a comment. Or if you're watching later, please feel free to share your story, and let me know how you were able to cope with that grief. Is losing someone that you love, coping with the grief it's a very, very painful journey, but you have to allow yourself to grieve. That is number one. Allow yourself to grieve is allowing yourself to grieve is the critical component of how you are able to honor your sadness, how you're able to honor that anger that you're feeling. Because when you go through pain, you go through stages of anger, you go through stages of why did that person have to go, why wasn't it me, God, why didn't you take me? So you go through that process of sadness, you go through the process of confusion, and there's lots of emotions that arises through that, the grief. But grieving is a natural process, and it suppresses your emotions. It can impede your healing if you let it. So grieve in your own way, number one. You have to grieve in your way. I know sometimes there are some people that they have friends who have gone through grief. I have a friend, my next door neighbor, he lost his dad. And I had had experience losing my dad. I could see the pain that he was going through. I could see the hopelessness what he was going through. I could see that he didn't know what to do. But at the same time, as a friend, I knew that the pain that I went through, the pain that he went through, it was different. I knew that we were two individual people and I could not give him advice. What the advice I could give him was allow yourself to feel the pain. And I said to him, I don't know whether how you respond to the pain is how you are able to move forward, whether you will allow yourself to be free or you allow yourself, the grieving it takes is different. The memories, the good memories are the ones that hurt the most. So if you have had a beautiful relationship with somebody and you lose them, you lose that person, the memories, that journey, when you go through memories, the places that you have visited, the pictures that you took with that person, the 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 chapter of the story, the different chapters of the story that you go through with that person are the ones that when you think about it are gonna hurt the most. So make sure that when you think about your loved ones, make sure that every chapter, you look at every chapter of the story that you've gone through. There are some places that as the time goes by, you might have to let it go. There might be some memories that you might have to let them go. There might be some memories that you might have to cherish, you might have to embrace. So it's different. And also talk to your thoughts and feelings. If you're going through pain, communicate with your thoughts. Let them know what you're feeling. Don't ignore them or feel that why am I feeling that way? Or maybe you decide to join the groups for grieving groups. There's lots of groups that you can join, but when you do join, try not to start comparing your pain with somebody else. Maybe say, why is my pain too much to bear? But other people are coping, but you don't really know how these people are coping with their pain. So it's very, 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 very important, guys, when you go through uh, the pain of losing your loved ones, or just let yourself grieve. They could be feeling, there will be, you might feel mixed feelings. You might have mixed feelings, or sometimes you might blame yourself and say, God, why didn't you take me? Why did you choose to take that person? But unfortunately, we don't get to decide when God has to take somebody. Sometimes people don't get taken by God, they get taken by the enemy. There are times where I look to myself, if my death had gone through for human blood sacrifice, my family, they wouldn't have known. They would have said, oh God, why did you take Nomsa this early? But it wasn't God is doing. So sometimes the people go, maybe because their assignment on earth is done, they have to go to heaven to fulfill their purpose. Or sometimes they die because Satan takes them. But because we don't have this knowledge, we'll be like, why God didn't you take me? So you don't really want the Satan to say, okay, you want me to take you too, so I'm gonna come and take you. So you don't deserve to die. So all we can say is we just need to focus on the grieving part. Because when you go through pain, when you're losing that person, there's more loss of mixed emotions that pops in, like why did I die? Why did this person die? Or maybe sometimes you had things that were unsaid. You wanted to tell that person, and now you're not able to tell them, and now they're dead. So how can you like feeling guilty? Or sometimes maybe there are some people that they argue with their spouse and then their spouse goes to work, they have an accident, they never come home. Or something happened, or they just die at work in their sleep. There's lots of things happen. And when that happens, the person that is left behind is left with guilt. But you don't have to feel shame. You don't have to feel guilty, because at the end of the day, We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and we don't know what the next hour is going to bring. So when you are presented with death of your spouse, of your loved one, make sure that you understand that grief is hard work. It's not an easy thing to do, to go through. For a human being have to go through. It's not an easy thing to do. Try to do things um, when the time is right. When you're grieving, try everything that you do. Try, because when the time is right, you will know. Even when it's time for dating, you will know that the time is right. Don't throw yourself out there for dating for the sake of dating somebody because you feel like you feel anger. Some people, they'll go out for revenge. They're like, okay, if God can do this, so I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go out and start. They will start creating this attitude, this character where they slip around because they're loved. They don't know how to cope, and then instead of coping, they'll start going to slip around, or they'll turn into substance like drugs, alcohol, because it's so painful. So if you ever feel the pain when you're going through grieving, seek support. I know when the time is right to do whatever you have to do, and also find the support if you need to find the support. It's very, very important to actually find that support. And also there are three things that you need to do. You can choose how you respond to your grief, and you can choose how you move forward with your life. You can choose how you connect the people that you connect after your grief. You can choose to connect with people after you have grieved. Choose how to communicate. So those are the things that are important. To find somewhere to communicate, find somewhere to connect with people when you are going through pain. There are some people, when they are going through pain, they do the other way around. They disconnect from people because they don't want to, because of the grieving. When you find yourself in denial and you find that, you know what, um, I don't want to talk to people, as long what you're choosing is best for you and is best for your health, is best for your feelings. There are some people who don't want, like myself, when I'm going through pain, I don't want to be around people that are gonna keep going on and on and on about the pain. When I'm going through pain, I liked my space, and I like to seek support and talk to people that can help me to find the healing and to cope. And also, I like to communicate uh, what I'm going through. But when I'm communicating with what I'm going through, I like the other person to just listen, not to give me advice. Or sometimes there are people that say, when you're going through grief, they'll be like, I know what you're feeling right now, but they don't. The truth is, your true feelings of what you are feeling, they can only be felt by you, not anybody else. So find those people that can actually communicate with you, can listen to you while you go through the pain, and you have a choice to grieve with dignity. And sometimes when we go through grief, we gain this low sense of control. We lose control with everything around us. So it's very, very important when you feel that that's how you're feeling, seek help. And fear as well, letting fear, the most common things that affect us when we go through grief is letting fear and grief delay important action. Or sometimes it will be like sometimes you have to do the funeral, sometimes we let fear because we don't want to face the truth. If we have to arrange for the funeral, we start ignoring things. We're like for me, when my daddy died, I went to an in denial mode where I'll look at my phone and hoping and wishing that somebody will call me and tell me that no, it's a mistake. And that causes problems with your health. And there were times where I went into a shock first. So you go into a shock first, and then you go into denial, and then you go into a place where you avoid the situation. For me, I was like, when I lost my dad, everyone is different. So I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Or if somebody, like if my dad's brothers or cousins, they want to talk to me, and they'll be comforting me. But at that moment, I'll feel like they're taking my father's place. There are some people that feel like that when they lose their loved ones, or if they have friends, and when those friends come and try to comfort them, they feel that like some people will tell you how you need to feel. Uh, they'll be telling you what they want you to do. And then you don't have to, when somebody is grieving, our job is to listen to them. Unless if they decide they needed us, they were like, if it was you, what would you do? Then you can give advice because it's been asked. But otherwise, if your advice is not being asked, what you can do is just, instead of giving advice, is just support, listen to that person when they talk to you, whatever the pain they go through. Some people, they go through a rage, like my friend, when she lost her mom, she was like, she went to a rage where she went to a mode where she started blaming her mom. And then I was like, I've been friends with you for like more than 10 years. You're very close to your mom, and where does this come from? I'm like talking to myself now when the rage is coming. So then I was like, wow, she's crying. She's raging because she's crying. She wants her there. And the only way that she can find the comfort is to find a little bit of things. But then when I didn't comment on that, I was like, my only comment was, can we just focus on what is going on right now, what you're feeling? Tell me what you're feeling. And instead of blaming her. And I remember when she came back, she was completely a different person a week later. She was talking about the good things that she's done with her mom. And she was talking about how it's affecting the grief, or how it's affecting her, and things like that. So sometimes there are some people that when they're grieving, they some people when they're grieving, like me, when I grieve, I go to a shock. I don't want to scream, I don't want to shout. I want somebody to tell me that it's not the news, is tell me the different news. That's what I hope, I desire. Some people go to a rage. And when they go to that rage of anger, when they talk about that loved one, it means they're missing them. The only way for them to cope with it. So when you're going through the grief, allow yourself however you want to grieve. If you want to go silent, go silent. But you don't stay there too long. If you feel, okay, I don't want to uh, arrange the funeral, I want to put it on hold for one day where I don't have to talk about the funeral, allow yourself to do that. And your family, your spouse's family can respect that. just for one day, I just need one day to be quiet. I just need one day to take it all in. I just need one day to be, if you're a Christian like me, just to be with God. So we have to allow yourself, give us those choices in life, not to compare ourselves and say, this person they grieved. So why myself? Why am I feeling this way? I explained it from the beginning, guys, that my neighbor lost his dad. When he lost his dad, he was helpless. Even myself, I could not help him. I had gone through grief with my father. I couldn't help him. The reason why I couldn't help him because we are individual. I was just there as a friend. The only thing that I kept saying is how you respond to your grief is how you are able to free yourself from it. Does it get better? It get better when you allow it to get better. Does it get worse? It get worse when you allow it to get worse. It depends. And mostly the relationship where we are close to our loved ones. If you are really have a good relationship with your spouse, or if there's both sides it cause pain. If you have not had a good relationship with that person, or the way they left, or the way they died, or sometimes if there's been an argument, that brings guilty. We don't have to feel guilty, but we do feel guilty because we wish our loved ones would have gone in a different way. They would have gone um, in a different atmosphere. That's why it's very important when your loved ones says goodbye to the door, they go to work. You don't know what is going to happen on that journey. It's important, no matter how much have upset you, it's important to give your loved ones, your spouse, a hug and a kiss. Tell them how much you love them before they get out of the door. When they are at work, if you're feeling the rage that they have upset you, they've done this, please do not call them and have rage against them, because you don't know how their journey is going to be like coming back home. So you don't want to be left with all these things and unanswered questions. You don't want that. You don't want to say, I have unanswered questions that I need to ask. I have these questions that I wish I would have asked my spouse, that I wish that I would have sat down with my spouse. I have these memories where I have gone through these memories. They are good memories, but now when I look at them, they are causing pain. They are causing anger. My honeymoon, where I went and enjoyed so much with my spouse, when I look at these pictures, I feel the pain, I feel the anger, because I wish that God would have taken me instead of him or instead of her. But why would you choose that God would have taken him or her instead of you? You don't get to decide when you die. You don't get to decide when your life, when your life has to end. Only God has a final say. There are some people who take their own life because of circumstances. They don't go to heaven. Anyone that takes their own life, they go to hell, to the pit of hell. The reason why they go to hell is because they don't have authority. I don't have authority to take my own. I did not give that life, so I don't have the right to take it. So for those who didn't know, I do not have a right to take it. So if your loved ones, if you had, I'm going to cover this, if your spouse died by taking their own life, that means there is a blood that is crying against the family. So that blood has to be silenced, because that blood was taken not by God. That person chose to take that life. So that means they went to hell, to the pit of hell straight away. When you go to the pit of hell, your blood does not, it speaks. It will speak crying. if that person's life was, they took their lives because the relationship wasn't working, or because of the depression, or because of in mental health problems, they were still crying. That means the blood is still living. So the blood needs to be silenced. So that means a member of the family has to speak. I silence innocent blood that is crying against our bloodline. That innocent blood, when it keeps crying, it can cause cancer into the bloodline. It can cause sickness into the bloodline. So if your spouse or family members, they die, they die by taking their own life, you have to silence that blood. That blood has to be silenced, because it will keep crying, because God did not call it that blood. That blood took his own life. That means the mentally, the depression that was affecting that person, the life, that person in the blood was still crying, because the blood wants God to call it in heaven, but God has not called that blood, so he will continue crying against the family members, or he will continue appearing to the family members and crying against them. So you have to silence it. Every blood of innocent that is crying against me, that is crying against my health, I silence you by the blood of Jesus. So you have to silence it. But some people don't know that. They'll be like, that's why you see somebody takes their own life in the family, and then the cycle continues, because that cycle was never broken. So they'll be like, in our bloodline, we have this thing where people take their own life. So you have to silence the blood, the innocent blood that was shed. You silence it, you wipe it off, silence it into the bloodline. Ask for forgiveness. Even if you have not done it, you ask for forgiveness and wipe it off. That means that blood can be silenced. Even if it's in hell, it can be silenced. So for those who think that, oh, well, when somebody takes their own life, or they've gone to heaven, there is no heaven. They cannot go to heaven because they don't have a right. When I was facing, when Lucifer put me under condemnation, when he puts you under condemnation, it means that he calls your name in hell. Because that person, if that they want fame, they want whatever wealth, you are not being killed by God. You're not, your life, my life wasn't being taken by God. So you go to hell. So when he's calling your name, is putting you under condemnation to take your life. He will read the condemnation on the grounds why he's taking your life. That somebody wants to take your life through this. And he has authority to do that. Guys, go. Go. No making any noise. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. The basket is here, girl. No talking, guys. No, they want their basket for Easter egg. And in the process, guys, they are disturbing. Michaela, my hand is still working. Go, go. Sorry about that. My children is bank holiday. They're at home. So yeah, so the blood will keep crying. So it's very, very important. If you're somebody who is watching my talk show and your spouse died through taking their own life, you can stand it. The words that we speak, they play a very, very, very important part in our lives. Kayla, could you please go outside? They play a very, very important part in our lives. So it's very, very important to speak. The words that we speak will determine how our future will look like. So if you have lost your spouse through the taking their own life, you've got to cut the codes. Otherwise, it is the cycle that can happen into the bloodline. It can choose to go to the bloodline, or it can choose to hunt. Like if my spouse died by taking their own life, It could be a cycle where it will affect me, the second person that I date, because that blood is crying and is speaking. That blood will be crying into my marriage. That means that I cannot have peace in my marriage. So you have to cut the cords. The blood, the innocent blood that was shed, instead of just cut it off, I use the blood of Jesus that raised Lazarus from the dead. I use the blood that resurrected Jesus to wipe off the death. I silence the blood. I silence. You say people say that person's name. You got to keep repeating it. Or if you have to do it for a few weeks, and just do it in that way, they get to go to sleep. They get to have peace. Although their soul will be locked up by Lucifer in torturing that soul, because Lucifer has a right to torture that soul, because that soul took the soul that it did not belong to him. My soul, it does not belong to me. It does not belong to my parents. It belongs to God. So I don't have a right to take that soul. The only place where I have a right is when God calls me and say, no, it is time for you to come to heaven. That's when I would die and go to heaven. But then there's different situations. So you have to make sure that you cut that. The cycle in the bloodline, you cut it off in the bloodline, you cut off the cycle of people taking their own lives. You say, I cut it off in my bloodline. I cut off the actual roots that brought that. If it is the depression, the root cause of that, you have to cut it off. If somebody dies through cancer, you do the same into the bloodline. You cut it off so it does not become the bloodline problems. That's why when you go to the doctors, tell me your story. Do you have a family history? Tell me about your family history. So some people, when somebody dies through cancer, they go and bury that person. They'll cry. They'll go to the grave, do the ceremony, do the burial thing, and they go home, they drink, they sleep. Life must go on. They do not cancel. You cancel the if it's untimely death, you cancel the untimely death. If somebody dies from the sleep, you cancel, you wipe it off and say, I don't want it to continue into the bloodline. I remove it into my bloodline. I remove it to my siblings. I remove it to my children, to my from my great. I remove it from my grandchildren. I remove it not to my children. I remove it from my children. I remove it from my grandchildren. I remove it from my life, my siblings, and my bloodline. I wipe it off. You just have to cut it off. And that is the process of healing. If you do lose your loved one, you have to cut it off so that it does not repeat. Because it can be a cycle where there are some people, they say when they get married, their spouse die, their spouse die. They get married, their spouse die. That person, they'll get married, and then the relationship will last for a few years, and then that person dies. But it becomes a cycle. So make sure that it does not become a cycle. Make sure you cut it off. When somebody dies or your spouse dies, carry off that death. Just say, I accept the death in my family that is being called by God. Any death, any untimely death, I cut it off in my family, whether that person, however they die off, your spouse, and I cut off the cycle, the energy of me losing, when I get married and losing a husband, I cut it off by the blood of Jesus. Whatever, any blood that is given authority to call a husband every time I get married, to call that blood to kill my husband, I cut it off by the blood of Jesus. Some people will be like, oh, it's a cycle that it has to happen. You got to cut it off. If the voices that we speak so powerful, so we can use our voices to cut off everything that we don't want in our lives. So we can create the life however we want. We can design the life that we want. And the other thing also, if you find yourself going into denial, going into anger, going into bargaining, going into depression or suffering with the acceptance, just take your time. If you find yourself getting into denial, seek help, because that means you need help. If you find yourself getting into anger, going into depression, seek help. And when you seek help step by step, first, it might be you're going to depression or going into anger because of you feel guilty that you should have been the one that had gone. Never wish yourself like that to say, I wish I was the one. My husband was so nice. God called him for a reason. It's his assignment. But unfortunately, not everyone gets called by God. So that we know where we stand, guys. Not every death is being called by God. Untimely death is not God's work. There are things that happens, but they are not God's doing. So we don't want to say, wow, he's gone to heaven. How do you know your loved ones have gone to heaven? So not everybody is called by God. Satan can cause death into the family. And when death is called by Satan, it becomes a cycle. It repeats itself. Because when Satan calls that death, it means when he die, when people don't stop him, when the family members don't stop him, that means they will keep coming back for more. But when God takes a life, it does not need to come back and take you another husband. That's not God. For those who have never looked at it that way, that is not God. If I lose my husband now, and then I get married, I lose another one. Why would God take all my husband from me? That is Satan. It means that he has created a cycle that needs to be broken. So in order to break that cycle, that means that somebody needs to speak. You don't need to do nothing, no juju, no extremely things. Your words. The words that we speak, they are very, very powerful. You speak the words, the scriptures, use the scriptures. Go to the Bible, open the scriptures if you're a Christian, and use words to actually cut off whatever the cycle that is in the family. If it's the cycle of people dying untimely, you cancel that using the blood of Jesus. If it's the cycle of people dying cancer, you cancel that. Not to say, we have that in our family. What do you have? Why do you accept bad things in the family? In my family, growing up as a child, on my daddy's side, when men reach 60, they die. It's like 60 something or 65, it's time for them to go. But it was a pattern that came going on and on and on until my generation, until I actually realized that actually my dad died, he was 60, I think it was 65 or 60. 60? Yeah, yeah, it was 60. He was older than my mom, who was 60. So when they reach that age, they die. But on his mother's side, they go up to 100 something. So, and then his father's side is 60 something, is the man that dies. So what I had to do is actually to rewrite my family history by speaking into my bloodline. Speaking into my bloodline, whatever is taking into my bloodline, all of them, they're dying at the age of 60. That's not God. God does not say, oh, wow, now Nomsa's uncle, he is 60, I've got to go and take his life. That's not God. That's Satan, guys. Satan exists as much as God exists. But everybody else talks about God. They will say how amazing God is. The only people that talk about, teaches people about Satan is the pastors. There is the churches that will teach you how Satan works. They will teach you how God works. So if you have the blood that is on earth, those who belong to Satan, they are on earth. It means their blood, they're crying, so you have to silence that blood. So if your spouse and you know your spouse is died, but since that spouse had died, you don't have peace, silence their blood. Don't just talk and say, you know what, I don't have peace. I can't get married. When I get married, the people, the woman, they walk away from me, or the husband, if I get, the minute I get married, the more that person dies, just cut it off. Is the code that has been written, that code needs to be cancelled and rewritten by somebody who believes in them, who believes in what is right. So you cancel it. Go through the grief. You're going through denial. Make sure you seek support. Don't never ever compare your grief with anybody else. It says individual. I always tell my friends when they're going through something in their husband, they will call me and say, no, sir, my husband is doing this. What do you think what he's doing? Does yours do that? I'm like, you just giving yourself an answer. My husband is doing this. How about yours? That is an individual that is dating Nomsa. So their behavior cannot be compared with this person. So is the grief as well. It's a process. It's a process that no therapist can give you and say it's the time scale, it has to be this. You give yourself the time scale by how you respond to that situation. You have a choice in life how you respond to when you lose your wife or when you lose your husband, how you respond to that. You get to decide. If you decide to grieve forever, to even go to medication, but that is your choice. But if you choose to embrace and think about if this person were here, what advice would they give you? Would they want you to suffer? What would they do? They want to give you a hug. They want to get up in the morning and say good morning. They want to do that. But if they are not longer there anymore, they would not want you to stop. They want your life to go on. They wish you to go one day, find healing, forgive yourself, and go and meet somebody else. That's their wish. That's what they wish you to do. That's what they're wishing you to do. And some people will say, my husband appears in my dream, or my husband appears to me, or I can't date somebody because I feel guilty because the dead is dead, guys. When somebody dies, they die. When somebody dies, they die. There is no turning back. There is no turning back. You cannot say they're dead, cannot speak to you. The only place where the dead will appear, it will be somebody else disguising as somebody that you loved before to come and harm you. The dead are dead. I used to believe it before I had an encounter with Lucifer. I used to believe that the dead, they do come back. The dead are dead. They never come back. When somebody says they are speaking to the dead, they are actually speaking to the gods that are speaking to the dead. The gods that are the gods that can communicate with the dead are the ones that will connect you to that spirit of the dead, but not you saying, I am speaking like my dad is dead. There is no way that my father can come back and speak to me in the dream. If anybody disguise to be like my father, that means that person is coming to harm me through the dreams. That means it's a bad spirit. When somebody says, oh, you know what, I'm going through this grief, but I see my husband is dead. A dead person goes and they die, they never come back. They are angel. We all have angels who go to heaven, their spirit goes to heaven, or it goes to the pit of hell, and that's it. They're dead. And then now, those who say they communicate with the dead, they have to consult another spirit in order to get through to that dead spirit. That's evil spirits. A good spirit will not come and communicate with you. My father will not come and communicate with me from the dead. The day I get to reconnect with my dad is when the resurrection of the dead arises. When God decided to rise the dead, that's the day where I am going to be able to connect with my father. But before, my dad used to appear in my dream. But at the time, I will accept that thinking is my dad, but it was never my dad. It was people wanting to harm me through the dreams. So once I had that encounter with Lucifer, how he communicates with the dead, how he's using the dead to harm people, that's when I realized that I don't need to communicate with my dad. Any dream that I have regarding my dad, I have to cancel it. That's not my dad. My dad is dead. The day we reconnect is the day when the dead is resurrected and the living unite with their loved ones. That will be the day. But in the meantime, if anyone says to you, I can help you and communicate with the dead, that means they are opening a portal that can bring you sickness, a portal that it can harm you. So you don't want it, but you can do it. You have a choice to say, oh yeah, you want to bring the dead to me. I want to know my future. You tell me my future. But God does not do that. There is no good spirit that brings the dead to tell you what is happening in heaven. Only God can send you that message. You can ask the message from God, actually Himself, and ask Him to heal you. Ask Him to heal you, to connect with the angels of God. Just to tell you the stories of how maybe your spouse are getting on in heaven. So you can communicate with that. But if they are in heaven, yes, God will communicate with you. Even if they're not in heaven, God will communicate with you, give you directions on what you need to do. Because if their soul is locked, you can release their soul. But that requires you to have the knowledge of how you release your soul. So, but I cannot say to you guys, if somebody dies, and there are some people saying he appears in my dream. Who dies and appears in somebody's dream? They are not a God. A soul dies, a soul goes to heaven. They cannot come back on earth. It's forbidden. It's forbidden. Only God can actually come back and tell you and help you with whatever you want to have. So it's very, very important to actually um, do things what you think is right for yourself and celebrate the memories of your spouse or your partner. If you have had a beautiful relationship, try to celebrate those memories. If you have visited the places, there are some places that you might have to let them go, because the reason why some places you have to let them go is because if you are somebody who wants to remarry, or you are somebody who wants to start into dating, it means I cherish the life that I had with my spouse. I'm not forgetting it, but I need to stop obsessing about it. I need to embrace it. I need to talk about it with grace, embrace it and let it go. so I can live. There are some people who get obsessed. Every year they'll go and visit this place where they visited with their spouse and they will leave flowers there. That is an idol. That is when you create an idol. When you create an idol with the dead, it means whatever is breathing that belongs to you on earth, that idol can interfere with the living, with the life that you have on earth. Because you have now, like, okay, my husband has died, and every year I'm going to go to the graveyard. I'm going to put some flowers there. When you're putting the flowers in that graveyard, guys, when somebody dies, the body goes to the grave, but their spirit is no longer there anymore. So where you putting the flowers, we can put the tombstone. We put the tombstone and hire people to look after that graveyard for the memories of our children to actually go and whenever they are older to see that, oh, that's where your granddad, like myself, 2007, 2015, for the first time, 16, I had to go and see where my ancestors are buried for the first time. I had to go and see them. I'd been there when I was a baby, but I couldn't remember. But I had to go for the first time. So those things we can do that, but if it becomes every year, guys, that means an idol is created. The reason why I'm saying an idol is created is because the dead, there's two people, there's two gods. We have Jesus and we have Lucifer. Lucifer is the demon, is Satan for the dead. He uses the dead, everything, the witches, the wizard, the sorceries, the occult, everybody, they use the dead. So when the minute you decide to worship the dead and say, I'm going to go take my flowers to the grave, like if I say I'm taking my flowers to the grave to my dad is no longer there. His spirit is not there. His spirit is in heaven. So why do I need to go and worship the grave? That means you create an idol. When you create an idol, that grave becomes a problem to the bloodline. If that person died through cancer, that means the worshiping, you want that cancer to leave. When somebody is dead, guys. I'm not saying you can turn it back on your families, but all I'm saying is the spirit leave. And also when the spirit leaves, if my dad is in heaven with God, the connection that I have with my father will never be broken. The reason why is when God comes, God will always comfort me. He will always be there. He will always help me with the memories that I had with my father, meaning I don't get to forget my dad. So there's no point in me going to the graveyard and spending £20 taking flowers to the graveyard for no reason. That person is not there. But before that, I used to believe that, oh, well, I have to go to the grave. But when I faced Lucifer, when he puts me under condemnation, the dead, you get surrounded by the spirit of the dead, the spirit of the dead. Now they celebrate your blood coming out. So when that moment, the blood, every dead person was crying, they're in the pit of hell, they are crying, and they are preparing for my blood to come before God enters and said to Lucifer, no, don't take no, sir. That's when I realized actually the dead are here. They are being worshipped by Satan. So then if I'm going to take and say I want to continue the spirit of my father to live on me, every problem that my father went through, that means I'm keeping it alive. So for those who do not know, guys, when somebody dies, let them die. You do not want their spirit to be alive. Because if they were problems in that person, and that can enter somebody else's family and cause problems. So you want the dead to remain dead. So those are the things that I have learned, that when somebody dies, their spirit lives on. It will go to heaven. Their soul will go to heaven. Whenever you feel like God will, the angel of God, they become through God, they become in that angel of God. Whenever you feel like you miss them, God will show up. Remind you good memories you have with that person, and you'll be like, oh yes, I did do that. Or even when you are sad about that person, God will show up, remind you the good memories that you had with that person. And then you get excited and say, oh yeah, I did this with my dad. I did this with my dad. So you get excited, you don't get to forget them. But when you go to the grave, go to waitress and buy flowers and say, we're taking it to the grave, guys, it's an idol. It's an idol worship. It's called, you can follow Dr. Olukoya. He's my father in the Lord. He speaks, he explains the dead, what happens when the dead goes. When the dead dies, they die. We can choose to embrace them through the angels of God, or we can choose to embrace them through Lucifer. When you celebrate the dead, that means you want that spirit to live in you or to live in somebody else. That's why some people, they say, oh, my dad comes in, because they believe in the dead. If you believe in the dead, Lucifer will bring the dead to you, and sometimes he won't even your dad. There are some people who are sangomas in Africa. Sometimes they will tell you that they're using the spirit of their auntie, they're using the spirit of this grandmother, or the spirit of that. But if somebody dies, why do they come back and want to leave the dead? Let the dead bury the dead. So for me, that's my belief, that if somebody dies, they die. Like my dad, I decided to embrace good memories with my father. Sometimes I get good memories that I laugh about it when I remember him. And that memory does not go away. God will always remind you the good times you've had with your family member, but you don't have to buy flowers. You can donate that money, £10, to somebody else to have food day, guys. But if that is your beliefs as well, it's also, if that's why you believe that, wow, I have to go to the graveyard, you can do that. You can always do that. My when I got homeless, I thought I was getting homeless. The whole story, it was like very, very complicated. It was then after I started looking back and then realizing actually it was meant to happen. My father-in-law had like lots of money, but his friends, they knew that he had money. And when they knew that he had money, they even knew how much money he had into the bank account. So when I became homeless, we lived with him because we couldn't find a home. It was just before lockdown. It was just before lockdown finishes. It was as soon as lockdown finishes, that's when it happens. So there were no houses. No one was moving houses, so I couldn't find a house, and we wanted to live in Henley. And then I became homeless. Now I'm living with my father-in-law. The angel of God comes in now. He goes, you need to set up a online banking for him. I'm like, why do I need to set up an online banking for him? He is too old. What is he going to do with online banking? So I set up online banking, set it up and giving him his password and everything. And I look at it, he's got loads of money. So I give everything, all everything to him. Now I've set up everything. I give it to him. Then he has a stroke. He goes to the hospital. Few months later, he comes out of the hospital. Now his memory is not good. But neither did I know that his friends, they knew how much he had. They knew his password, bank card password. And we got to town one day with my father-in-law. And his friend want to withdraw money. I was like, you cannot withdraw money. Even myself, I can't withdraw money with him. So he takes money when he wants to, but not now. So these guys start fighting and start fighting. And this angel of God comes in and says, you see, that was your assignment. Your assignment, you had to come and protect this man. And then in the story in the family, his uncle had had somebody wiping his bank, is all his money out. So he goes, I'm just trying to make you guys to realize the story, how the universe work. And then he wipes his uncle, his mom's sister, his mom had one brother. So his mom had died. So his uncle had been wiped out everything. Now his uncle had to go to a care home where nobody in the family didn't know. They ring this person that was looking after the guy, and they tells everybody that his uncle, my father-in-law's uncle, is dead. So he's declared dead, but is alive because his money has been taken. This person does not want the family to know that he took everything from him. Now the cycle in the family has to go ahead. But because me, I am mad with my prayer, I cancel everything in my bloodline, in my spouse's bloodline. I go in and I cancel that. And God says, here's the problem, Nomsa. That arises. So you're going to have to go through homelessness in order to save this man. I go through the pain of being homeless. What happened when I became homeless? When we were about to sign the document, the woman turned her back on me, the estate agent, and said, you can't afford it. I was like, what? She was like, you can't afford it. The case is closed. Just like that. Boom. And the door shut. And that was it. I go out confused. I was like, I'm paying more money where I am. And then I'm paying 4 times, it was 5 times. And then where I'm going is cheaper. I got confused. But when God is at work, God, you guys, you can't fight it. So then he goes, now my father-in-law is in a hospital. He comes out of the hospital. I've saved him. I had to go through it. When helping somebody with money, guys, you have to deal with the laws. You now have to deal with yourself not being tempted to take that money. So I had to deal with myself to be honest with him so I can help him to get where he needs to be. So now I'm arranging everything. I had no clue. Now the lost uncle is in a care home in Henley in the local area where we live. So then I find a care home for my father-in-law. Now he comes out from the hospital. He's got this, comes out of the hospital. That's how I'm trying to show you how the universe works. So sometimes when things happen, when you lose your loved ones, don't blame yourself. It goes into the hospital says he cannot go home because we had tried to live with him, but it was hard. So I go to a care home where they tell me that we're gonna get back to you, we're gonna do this, you're gonna, and then in that care home, 1 minute, last second, they turn their back on me. So I was like, okay, right, what is going on? And then they ring this another care home. Within a second, within 10 minutes, they are willing to go into the hospital and assess my father-in-law, bring them to the hospital, and they did. Neither did I know where my father-in-law is going is where his uncle is. And nobody in the family knows. So he goes to that care home and his uncle is there. Now, I keep praying, guys. I keep praying. Any hidden secret in the family. That's what I do. I fast. Me, I don't tell people what I'm doing. I just pray, and everybody. Now, one of the family decided to relook into the situation again. They're like, if he die, it is dead. We want. They're finding the grave now. To them, the idea is to find the grave where he is buried. They realize that the guy is alive. The guy is alive, is now in the care home with his nephew. His money was wiped off. Everything was taken from him. Now it would have been a cycle with my father-in-law. His life would have been going the same thing, but because me, I'm praying, now I have to go through the homelessness. It was then when I realized the story, what God has been doing, that I had to go through pain in order for me to save my father-in-law. It's money. But otherwise, I would have stayed at my comfortable home. And the man, these friends would have wiped off his bank account without them knowing because of my prayer. So sometimes, if you wish to get a good job, life, God can do, or the universe can shake, cause problems in order for your life to get to the next level. If your loved one die, they leave. If God takes them, it means if he didn't take them that moment, maybe they would have had to face pain, challenges that they wouldn't have had to to cope with it, or maybe you wouldn't have had to cope with it. So you got to look at things in a different perspective of life. Say, okay, this person is gone. But what would they wish for me? What would their wish be for me? Would they want me to cry? No. They will make food, good food for me. They will want me to go to the shops, buy beautiful food, healthy food, and come home and eat. They want me to keep my health, to keep healthy, to do whatever I need to do to survive. So they want me to do that. So you have to look at life based on your life, based on the life that you've had with your loved one. Celebrate memories. You feel you want to scream, take this sticky, hit the pillows, cry, but don't allow yourself to go into depression. When you go into anxiety, you go into depression, that means you can lose your life. Celebrate the joy, the every minute that you're with that person. Some people may say, how am I going to survive financially? This person maybe was earning more money. God always make a way where there is no way. He always make a way. Where there is life, there is always hope. He always make a way for you. So you can't say, this person is gone. How am I going to survive? You will survive because God will take good care of you. He will take good care of your children. He will take good care of your bloodline, your family. So you can survive. The only way now that you need to do is to take good care of yourself. Not to say, I don't want to, I wish I would have died instead of this person. That person would have wanted you to take good care of yourself. Express your feelings. Create memories if you need to. Seek support. One day at a time. Step by step, guys. When somebody dies, when we go through pain, take things step by step. And also be aware of every moment, every step that you take in that moment. Be aware of it. Be aware, be in the present moment. When things happen, even if you're at work, if your manager turns against you, guys, You don't fight back. When somebody turns against you, you don't fight back. Look at the wish things that you desire in life. Because it could be God telling you that you want to succeed in life, you want promotion, it's time to do something. And I'm gonna use this manager to shake things off. But some people they focus on it. He doesn't understand me. She does not get me. But God is shaking things. He's causing earthquake everywhere for you to be free, for you to get that promotion. This person has died. God wants you to go and help somebody else who is struggling, who is going through that pain, but who can't cope. God maybe has assigned you as an angel on earth to go and speak to the community where the people are struggling with the death, with the losing their loved ones. But because you are coping and then you are like, I just wish that I would have died. But that's not what God wishes for you. He wants you to heal properly. So when things happen, when our loved ones die, it's not the end of the story. It means that the story continues. Create memory by starting a charity. Cancer, if they die with cancer, just start something. Start something that can bring that can keep that memory going, that you can look forward to. If you don't want to start a charity, just find healing and set yourself free. Forgiveness as well. Find the healing. When you do find the healing, teach others and celebrate your loved ones' life. And when you do need to help, seek help when you need it. You don't need to suffer. It's not, we don't choose how we take our lives. What happens is God already knows, like myself, God already knows the day that I'm gonna die. When I was how old was I? I think I was 10 years old, or not sure whether I was 10 or 12 years old or 13 years old. Somebody in my family hit me by mistake. It was an accident. And I find myself, I was like, they hit me here in the middle of my head. So I bled and then I died. But I came back to life. Because God was like, it's not the time for her to go. And at that moment, when my family were told, they got angry. But at the same time, they had to stop and say she would have been gone. But I came back to life. And then another story, somebody put me down for human blood sacrifice. This is the story that I will live to tell my children. Is the story that I will live to tell my grandchildren. When somebody put me for human blood sacrifice for fame and wealth, God showed up again and said, it's not nonsense time to go. She has an assignment that she needs to complete on earth. Lucifer had to let me go. But those are the things that is the breakthrough that we have on earth, that we do get, the stories that we get to go through in life, where we forget the good ones. Okay, my husband is gone, but I still have a chance to be here. What is my assignment while I'm here on earth? So once you know your assignment, continue with your assignment. The sound as a sound, guys, it sounds very painful. It sounds very easy when I talk about it. But if you knew what God is, you will be happy in every situation in life. When my family member dies, I used to cry. I used to do all sorts, but now, because I know something that I didn't know, I know that God loves me. I know that God loves members of my family. When death appears in my family, I accept it and I say, God, I'm so grateful that is not me. I'm so grateful that I get to live another day. I get to see, I get to kiss my children. If it's the two of you and one of you has stayed behind to raise the children, guys, we have something to celebrate. So celebrate, raise the children. Don't say, I wish it had been me. Because God took you, the other person, because He knows that you can be a good role model to the children, to the bloodline, to anything. So that is me done for today, guys, talking about death. And if you want to connect with me, guys, you can find me at Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency or on my social media. And if you're following me if you're following Ghost Talk Shows on YouTube, please do subscribe on our channel. And please do join. We have a group, Unique Billionaire Mindset on Facebook and Ghost Talk Shows. And I have two pages, Ghost Talk Shows and Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency. Do follow me on those pages, like my pages, so you cannot miss anything. And if you want coaching, you can go to the website and there's a page where you can register for coaching. And if you want to find love, guys, you can fill out the application form. I am your love harmonist. I hold my clients through dark times till the end. When you tell me, Nonsa, I've had enough of you and I've met the love of my life, now I just want to go and enjoy. This is where I back off. But when you need me, I'm always there. I am your love harmonist. I harmonize the love and I bring that connection. I connect you with that special person. So please do go to my website and fill out an application form. And enjoy Easter, guys. And please, my words of encouragement is if you have lost your loved one, and if it's affecting you, and if you have lost any of your loved ones or your spouse, please rewrite your story how you want it to be written. You know, there is a movie in your life that you would like to write. You would like to see your family members there in that movie. Write it. And I'm sure that movie hasn't got pain. And, God is always there. I was watching this guy on YouTube that he had an encounter with Jesus. And he said, God, I've always had questions. Why did you let me go through pain? And God's reply was, I protected you. I was always there. But you didn't know I was there. And that's why that pain mentally, it did not affect you in a way that it takes your life. My job is to protect your soul. So God is always there. Is always there with you, whether you're a Christian, whether you are not a Christian. But it's up to you to say, God, this problem that I have, could you please hold my hand through it? And He will do it. If you let Him, He will do it. When you are going through pain, God will do it. So God bless, guys. Enjoy Easter holidays. I'm gonna go. I break my fast at 3 p.m. and I'm gonna enjoy Easter eggs with my daughter if she shares her Easter eggs. I don't buy chocolate. Chocolate is specific for me, but if she wants to share it, she can share it with me. So I'm just gonna enjoy at the time that I left. Oh, I'm not gonna enjoy. I've got exams, so I'm gonna be studying. Today, I think until sometimes if I'm doing my assignment, I can finish at 5 p.m. the following day. So 5 a.m. So it depends. If I finish my assignment early today, I'll get to rest. But if not, I've got work to do. I'll spend time with my family, and then later on, I'll do my assignment. Because yesterday, I spent time with family as well. It was family gathering. So I think today is work time for me to focus on my schoolwork. So live with grace, everyone. Enjoy good Easter wherever you might be, and God bless you.